Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Richard?
Hey, David, it's 5:30.
Yep.
You want to call me?
Yep, I call the Jefferson Township Board meeting here.
We got a microphone or
Yeah,
anything?
we got a microphone.
Guys, quiet, we're starting the meeting.
We're starting the meeting.
You're just going to have to talk loud.
You got a copy of the agenda then there for us, or what you're
Yeah,
gonna
I got it.
discuss? Because
Let me get my phone turned off so I don't get disturbed.
you got a minutes. paper to sign. You got a copy of the minutes? We got to sign. We got to go through and then sign. I got a copy of them. I just need. Is this one we can sign? Okay. AJ's got it. The one we can sign.
I got one. I got a copy of the agenda and the minutes, but he wants a copy to
The
sign.
agenda. Yeah.
He's got.
I got it. I got it. I got it.
Minutes,
I got it.
He's got
I got it.
minutes.
I got it. I got it.
You good?
Yep.
I'd like to say something just before we get started here. This is actually the first hearing on our budget meeting. That's what we're discussing tonight is the budget. We're not here to discuss the fire agreement. That was discussed at a meeting last night. After this meeting is over with and the board is satisfied with the budget, if there are any other questions at that time, we'd be more than glad to answer those questions. But our main job is to get the budget taken care of. And we've never had an audience like this. Normally, it's just this row of people up here when we do the budget. Because we go line by line, and it takes a little time. So we ask your patience, because there'll be questions that I may need to explain to the board. And with the board's permission, I would like to, the videoing of the meeting, I'd like to table that to another meeting. Would that be all right? Because I'm waiting on from State Board of Accounts information on how we should properly handle that. So if you guys don't mind, we'll just do that at another meeting.
Fine with me.
Okay.
All right, man.
Okay. We don't have to have that videoing in effect until July 1st of 2025. If there are any questions after the budget has been taken care of, anybody who's got a question, please raise their hand, and we'd like to have you come up to the podium and identify yourself and give us your address so we know whether we're dealing with someone from Jefferson Township or outside Jefferson Township, outside of Austin or inside Austin.
Larry, there are sign-up sheets on that podium for when they speak.
Okay, well, we're being recorded back here. Troy Grant from Fox 55 is back there. And I think it would be better if they did come up here and identify themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And give their address. Okay, David, go ahead.
Okay. The minutes from the last meeting. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I got some amendments, or one amendment mainly. It says here on page 2, about halfway down, said Dave Rittmeyer wanted to know the board has a plan for January 1st, 2025. And I started to tell him what I had done and was talking, and he talked over me. And I asked him, now I'm talking, you be quiet. And I just started to talk again, and there was another firefighter, first name Bryce, that was sitting in the lazy boy that talked over me again. And I said, that's it, I'm done. And so that's not how this is described in here, that I left the meeting.
We can't, this has already been discussed. This is our minutes. We can't. It goes.
So how about,
I didn't say,
Tim, how
Tim,
do you want it written down?
we're addressing our agenda from the last
Let's
meeting.
get back to.
I was talked over. I asked him to quit, quit talking over me. He asked a question, I was explaining it. I just started to talk again, and another firefighter talked over me before I ever got another word out. And I said, if you're not going to control the meeting, I'm out of here. And I picked up my stuff and left.
That's still not an excuse for leaving the meeting. You're a board member. and
That's
should be
your-
Larry,
that's
that's
your
your-
opinion.
We're discussing what's in our.
Tim brought it up and I'm
agenda.
just counter proposing. Okay, continue, David.
So Tim, you said
Let
things you
him
were talked
make sure.
over.
I was talked over by Dave Rittmeyer when I was answering his question. And I got him to be quiet. And then I started to talk again. I was talked over by a guy named Bryce.
And I've been at many meetings when you have talked over other people.
Larry,
It's part of the job.
Larry,
It's part of the job.
Larry,
If you want to be.
Larry,
board member, you
Larry,
have to
we
take
are
the heat.
discussing Larry. We're not
Tim has the
discussing.
time to talk. I should be able to talk also.
We're straightening out the
correcting
minutes from the last
Larry.
meeting.
I'm correcting the minutes.
I feel there's no need to correct the minutes, but if you want to correct them, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, there's one other correction at the bottom.
He's not done.
Okay.
Make sure you cross out that little line.
Which one is it?
It would be, Tim, you got yours where it's crossed out so you can see what you don't
No,
want.
I just put it's not the way it was.
Just add it there after 10 minutes.
Okay, then at the bottom of the page, I was gone, but it says, Ben Fenstermaker says that the Bluffton, Lancaster, and Union rushed the territory, and you do not want that to happen to Ossian and Jefferson. Union is not in that territory. Harrison is in it. Union and Markle, they aren't in a territory. They're in another interlocal agreement. But it's Harrison that's in that.
Okay, I just need to mark out Union.
Yeah.
but-
Put here.
Yeah, you need to mark out Union, put Harrison.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Here, come make sure that's good for you.
He started talking over me. The second guy started talking over me. Not started talking over me.
You good with it? You read it, Tim?
Yeah. We gotta sign that.
This is
yeah.
where you got to go sign.
Yeah, that's fine.
Make sure here.
Okay. Okay, the budget.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and start.
Well, do you have copies for us?
Oh, you guys don't know what you have. Of course I do.
I couldn't read the one that printed off on my printer.
Well, sometimes this printing is so fine in there that it doesn't copy very good. Everybody need one?
Yeah, anyone who's ready. These guys.
Now, do you have last year's budget to compare this to?
I've got that, yeah. I don't.
You got
have-
copies for us?
No, but I can tell you what, I've got it here. I can tell you what it says. And what I have done is we're going to start with the general fund, and line by line, I'm going to go by what we had last year and what the difference is for this year.
Let me see if I can find a copy of last year's.
Here's the 2024. I've got notes on it. You
I
guys
got one. I don't think I got any extras, guys.
AJ, have you got one?
I've got my emails already.
David, you need a 2024?
I need a 2024.
Why don't you give him this one, and you hold this one in case, I've got notes on this here that mean something to me, but I've also got another sheet that the notes are
Well, I
on.
might want to write on it.
Okay, we'll give this to David then. Okay, we're gonna start with the general fund. The first line item is salary of trustees. Trustee, last year it was 12,000. There's a lot of things on this that have increased, and a lot of it is because of the 7.6% inflation rate that we are all dealing with. So that's why some of these numbers have went up. And I have raised the salary of the trustee by $1,000. That works out to about the inflation rate. So it's not like I'm getting an increase. The second line is the salary of the clerk. Their salary was $5,000 last year, and it's going up to $5,400 because of the inflation. The board was paid $800 last year per member, and that comes up to $2,400. This year, I'm asking to increase that to $2,580, which is inflation.
So how much is that an increase per board member?
I don't know.
860 would be the total.
How much?
860.
Okay.
Okay.
And you guys are deserving of it. You've been coming to a lot more meetings than we normally have. You've done a lot more investigating, and you deserve that. Okay, next thing we got, Social Security Township share. This was always a little confusing to me, and I finally got with my accountant and got some accurate numbers. Last year, I was just shooting in the wind on this. I put down, you guys adopted 2,000, and actually, if the closer figure is 1,500, so that dropped $500 from last year. Office supplies. Another thing I need to explain is this budget this year is broke down in more line items. Next year it'll be easier for us to compare one year to the next. So there may be a few things on 2025 that you did not see in 2024, and there may be things in 2024 that appears to be a lot of money, but when you break it down into the new line items I got, it'll make some sense here. So office supplies. Office supplies in 2024 actually was adopted 0. And I've got,
Well, that's not what I had.
oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. No, I'm sorry. David, you may have to help me here. I gave David the one that,
Yeah, $1,000.
no, here it is. I've got it. We're good. We're not as bad as we would put out here. Okay, let's go down to office supplies. Last year, we had $1,000. Office supplies this year, I'm asking for 1,500 more. I'm asking for 2,500. That's a number that these numbers are very tight, based on the 6 months that I've got so far this year, plus the forecast that I'm forecasting for the balance of the year. It's my job to present a reasonable budget. So that's why some of these numbers are higher, but it's based on what we have spent in the past.
So how, do you know how much you spent this year on office supplies?
David, let me see the sheet that I gave you. I may have it written down there. Yes, office supplies so far this year. Well, I don't have the entire, but in 2023, we spent $2,640, and we're very similar to that in 2024. So actually, it's and last year we cut that rate down to $1,000, which was, I knew at the time was too small, but that's what we adopted last year. So okay, on bookkeeping software, bookkeeping, I was forecasting $700 for last year, but it's only $600. So that dropped, bookkeeping dropped $100. Computer services, that so far this year, we have spent $400, and we still got about 5 months to go. So that's why that has actually dropped $100, because I broke it down a little finer, added a little more to office supplies, and took some away from bookkeeping. Okay, computer services. Is that what I was just talking about? Okay, computer services last year was $500. I found out that computer services is costing us a little more money than we thought. Part of that increase is I have Northwood Computer comes in once a year, and they basically audit our system to make sure that we have the latest backup plan. We have a system that backs up every 30 minutes. And we're also protected. It's called DRI crash plan. And that's just to keep us from losing all the records that we've got. I think it's something that we really need. Okay. Legal services. Legal services, last year, we only had 1,200 in there. I actually asked for 3,000 last year, but the board cut it. And we've had some extra legal expenses this year because of the cemetery and because of different issues that we've had to talk over with our town attorney. So I'm forecasting that we're going to need 3,000 next year for that, which is an increase of 1,800.
What are we at now for the year?
Right now, to date, we've spent $3,094. Okay, accounting services, last year, 2,500. This year, we have the 941s, and all our taxes are taken care of by Bluffton Accounting. And the last trustee we had in here did it himself, and we found out that it was, the board decided that it was better if we hire that out and get a lot more accurate numbers. And so far, we haven't missed a payment, no penalties, and it's working out very good, and it's very accurate. Okay, Vantage Business, that's actually our phone service. Last year, we adopted $900, but I found out that 800 will cover that. So we're down $100 on that. This DR crash plan is what I just talked about. And to have that for a year, it's last year we published $150. It's going to only cost us $130. So we're down $20 there. The Microsoft plan, last year I actually published $700, but we only adopted 0. And I found out this year that we do have $700 that we need for that. so far this year, we've already spent 600. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm estimating for the full 2024, it will be $642. So I rounded that up to 700. There could be an increase because of inflation. ITA training. Last year we adopted 500. I found out to take the ITA training that I and my investigator need to take is going to cost us $700 this year. So I'm forecasting $700, which would be an increase of $200. There are different times my investigator and I have to travel to different locations in the state for training purposes. And last year we adopted $500. I found out transportation is only $300. So we're going to lower that by $200. Lodging in Indianapolis is rather expensive. For some reason, whenever we have our conferences, Noblesville and Fisher and Indianapolis, every other body in town seems to be wanted down there for another meeting, so they skyrocket the rates. Last year, we put $500, we adopted $500. This year, I'm proposing $600 because of the increase in travel down there. Legal advertising, anytime that we have to publish like our budget and different items, we have to put it in the news banner. And legal advertising so far this year, I've got $353 in there that we've already spent. So I'm forecasting $400, or I'm sorry, I'm forecasting $500, which is a $400 increase. Last year, we only had $100 in legal advertising. The insurance work comp, last year, we adopted $1,000, but this year, I'm asking for $3,500 because the insurance, I broke this insurance down a little bit different. As you see on the next line, I've actually dropped it $3,500. I've tried to fine tune it so it's easier to compare one year to the next. So if you look at that insurance work comp, it is $2,500 higher than what we adopted last year. But if you look at the next line, insurance liability, it's actually $3,500 less. Insurance bonds, last year we paid $300. I'm just estimating we're probably going to have a $50 increase on that. It could be the same as last year, but I'm forecasting a $50 increase. Repair and maintenance, last year $500. This year I'm asking for the same amount, $500. Office rent, the office rent went from $420 a month up to up to $450. Last year I had the wrong amount in there. So actually we're showing a decrease of $120, but technically it went up from $520 to $550, but I was wrong last year, estimated that too high. Ditch assessment, for the first couple of years, I've been getting charged $15. Well, I found out this year that we missed some payments that I never received any invoices from. And so I had to pay $160 this year for ditch assessment for the cemeteries that we own. And so I'm going to forecast $160 next year, which is a $145 increase. The news banner, which I use to, when it comes to township assistance, I always review that to see if any of my township assistance people are in there. If we find out a township assistance person has broken the law, then we do not give them a township assistance anymore. So it's a good way for me to track that. So I am forecasting, if I can find this, I'm forecasting that it's going to go up $50 to $200. Office equipment, we've got 3 chairs in the office. I've repaired them about as many times as I can repair them. I've got bolts hanging all over them. The arm pads are destroyed. I would like to get 3 new chairs. Not saying we can't continue to use them, but they're going to have to be replaced at some time. The ITA dues, last year we forecasted $250. I'm just estimating that that's probably going to increase by $50 up to $300. The ITA, it's the township assistants. We receive a lot of help from the ITA. We go to classes, they bring lawyers in, and they keep us updated on all the new laws that are going into effect. And it's a very worthwhile organization. They provide us with a lot of forms that we need to fill out. And if I had not been attending these meetings on a regular basis, I would never be trained properly to do the job that I'm doing right now. Because I didn't know anything when I took this job over. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Okay, I'm forecasting the ITA dues to go up to, last year I published 300, but we only adopted 250. The 300 is a good figure, so I'm going to increase that by 50. Okay, the cemetery care. Cemetery care is basically mowing and cleaning of the tombstones. Last year, we adopted 8,000. This year, I would like to raise that up to 10,000, which is an increase of $2,000.
I thought you had them all cleaned.
Well, we still got half of Elhannon to do yet. But I can explain, actually the budget is going to go down on that. If you take this year and next year and average them together, we had a company repair Elhannon. And at first it was going to be a $42,000 job spread over 2 years. We're going to budget half of it this year and half of it next year. When they got there, they said, Larry, this isn't as big a job as we thought it was going to be. And we're going to pay $25,000 this year and $9,000, almost $10,000 next year. But that's about a $7,000 drop in what the cost was estimated to begin with. So I'm going to pay a little more this year than I'm supposed to. But if you average the two together, this year, next year, it's actually going to be a decrease of probably around $7,000. If you look at the next line on cemetery maintenance, we adopted 26,000 last year. And this year, I am forecasting $11,000, which is going to be a decrease in $15,000. I've got 3 cemeteries. I and the board have 3 cemeteries. We've already got Old Austin repaired, and we've got Archbold Cemetery repaired, and we've got more than 50% of Elhannon repaired. Next year, they'll be back to finish that. Like I said, it's going to be less than budget. So if you go down to the bottom there, I'm forecasting $95,120 in the general fund. And last year, we had a budget of $88,485. Now,
There's another line in there, firefighting fund, $16,200.
Okay, let me explain that. We didn't have that line number in there last year, but this year, this will be explained when I get into the firefighting fund, but I'll give you a little preliminary right now. The firefighting fund, I'm forecasting $125,739, which is 50% of the firefighting budget. The town of Ossian is going to pick up the other 50,000. Well, I am only, in 2025, I am only going to be able to receive from the state 115,638. So I'm going to be roughly $10,000 short of what I'm going to receive. But in a situation like what this is, what we are allowed to do, we are allowed to appropriate money from the general fund. And when I talked to George Helton is sort of a guy that we all call every now and then to ask him about financial questions. He's got 130 trustees that he assists when we need help. And he suggested that I put, originally I put 16,200 in there. He said, Larry, we probably should put about 12,000, put 4,200 extra in there. And then what that will do is that will give me enough money to fund my 50% of the firefighting budget.
But
Now, if the firefighting budget doesn't use all of the 125,739, that money will remain in the general fund or in the firefighting fund.
but you're taking 16,200 out of general.
Well, I want to change that. I want to change that to 12,000, what I'd like to.
Well, even taking 12,000, the people of Ossian and the township both pay into the general. The people outside of Ossian pay into firefighting because the town supplies the firefighting for the people in the town of Ossian. So the town of Ossian people would be paying into the general, but then you would be taking it out and spending it on the township people.
Let me clarify something, Tim. When I first took the trustee job over, one of the first conversations that you and I had was, Larry, there's only been $9,734 budgeted for firefighting right now, and we've got a $40,000 budget. Anything over 9,734, you said, Larry, is coming from the general fund. Eventually, we're going to run out of money in the general fund. And so that's why I've got that in, based on George Helton's suggestion and you telling me that we're taking too much money out of the general fund to support firefighting. That's why that number is in there, to assist us so we don't have to keep taking money out of the general fund and reducing it.
But the reason we could only raise that much money earlier was they had a max levy, and that's the maximum they would allow us to tax. And the way we supported the fire department, there's little pieces of your budget, excise money, lit money, them little pieces we were able to throw together and get up to our 45,000.
You had to take part of that money out of the general fund, though.
No.
You did receive more money. I'm not
There's
denying
two
that.
trustees sitting right there.
I've got the numbers. I've talked with
Ex-trustees.
George Helton, and you guys, let me go, okay. I don't want to bore you guys with this, but this is what happened. Last year, I found out that there's a form 1065 that if I completed that form, it's based on the census increase that Ossian has had in the last, I think it was 5 years. And it qualified me to get a total of $109,000 for the firefighting fund, where previously we were only getting $9,734. That is the only reason that we've got enough money right now to fund the fire department. And we still may have to take a little bit from the general fund to fund that, but we're not going to be having to take nearly, we couldn't afford the new firefighting budget if that 1065 form wasn't completed. And if there's any questions about that, Tim, I want you to call George Helton, and George would be more than glad to explain that.
I understand that that's why we was able to raise our max levy. But what's wrong with you taking the bits and pieces we used to take and put in here and not take it out of the general?
I've already got the bits and pieces included in that. We're going to get, after I talk to George Helton and he adds all the bits and pieces in there, we're going to get $115,638. That's the most we're going to get. And that is not enough to cover the $125,739 firefighting budget. That's the only reason I've done that.
I don't know how the people that live in town feel about that when they're paying fire protection to the town plus paying in the general.
All I
here.
know is I ran it by our DLGF consultant, and he approved of it. And it will be approved once this budget has been adopted. Okay, so if you take our total budget for the general fund, it's $95,120 this year that I'm proposing. Last year it was $88,485. If you take the inflation, 7.6%, times the budget we had last year of $88,485, it comes out to almost identical to what I am asking for. Plus, we have got the $12,000 added to the general fund that I've put in there to be able to fund the fire department if it's required. It may not be required. If it's not, it will stay in the general fund.
So this figure 95,120 is only adding $12,000 in from the town people for firefighting.
You're probably right.
Well, it says 95,120, but that has all these other numbers. It's got 16,200.
Well,
What you're saying-
I'm backing off to 12,000.
So we back off to 12, that'll drop it.
But he went up
Oh,
and
I'm
down.
sorry,
He
yeah.
went up and down on some of them.
So it'll be 91 if we took
I'm
that
surprised.
42 off.
Actually, you're right.
So if we go take that down to
If
12.
we take that off of there, that actually drops that down to, what is the number, AJ, that it drops it down to?
That's not good. 90,920.
90,000 what?
920.
90,920.
I'm not comfortable charging the town people $12,000 for firefighting.
Like I say, I ran that by George Helton, and George says there was not an issue there.
George isn't paying the bill, them town people are.
So there's not another way to raise the fire department?
There is. There's money left over from years past that we could appropriate to cover that if we had to.
Okay, so why can't we do that?
That is probably an option.
Then let's do that.
It'd be a lot more fair.
Keep the general budget for all the general stuff instead of somebody's salary.
All I'm doing is taking a recommendation from the DLGF.
I'm
They know a whole lot more about this than me.
just, putting a
And this-
solution out there. That's
Well,
all.
I appreciate that, but you know more than the DLGF. Okay, I mean, do you?
Not sure, no.
Okay,
It's my
well,
first time attending, but I would
okay,
like some
well,
copies of
I'm
the
just
papers.
explaining that that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It was presented to me by the DLGF, and he made.
He
this
wants a
suggestion.
copy. Do you have a copy for him? He'd like a copy of it. You
Of
got a
the
copy?
budget?
Yeah. Do you have a copy for him? Anybody else want a copy? Anybody else
I
need?
have a question on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know George Helton. We worked with him for 20 years. And did you remind him that the town pays separately than the township? Because not all townships work that way. So we always had to remind him that the fire department is funded from the township and the fire department is funded from Ossian. So we have to remind George, and he is a very intelligent guy, I agree. But he cannot keep track of of the separation. And I could see where he would say, put it up there, if everybody was funded. But when Ossian is being double paying, then that's not fair.
Well, I'm assuming George has remembered that from the time that you have talked to him.
Well, we've been out of it for 10 years, but still, I mean, you'd have to remind him year by year, you know, when it came to your budget, you were working with him.
Karen?
I am a transplant from California, and I've lived here 45 years now, and I had this real strange idea that Ossian is in Jefferson Township, and that there are costs that I want to have a fire department, and I don't want my friends' houses burning down outside. So if it's going to take $4,000 of some of my tax money, which may be about 18 cents per, I mean, the amount divided by the amount of houses is not worth this argument, because I'm not going to go, oh, you live outside of the county, you don't deserve. That's kind of what we're getting here. So I just want to remind people, we live in a wonderful city. You've never lived anywhere else, you just don't know. And this is petty.
If I need to remind, I ran some numbers last night before the meeting, and Jefferson Township has always been paying about a third of what Ossian has been paying for fire protection. I went back 12 years, and Ossian has paid $731,000 more dollars since 2012 than what Jefferson Township has. It's because Jefferson would never pay their full share.
Yeah, let's get
We're
back
on the
on the
Okay,
budget.
that's where I'm
We're on
going.
the
Now,
budget.
I'm asking for $12,000 just in case we need it to fund the fire department, so Jefferson Township is protected. I don't think I'm asking for the moon here, and the budget is actually only going to go up a few $1,000s,
Are you
2,000 from
willing,
last year.
are you willing to check with George on this? and
I've
ask this
already
question?
checked with George. You can
No,
even check with
are
him.
you willing to call George and ask him to make sure he's got it separated out properly?
I'm more than willing to do
I'm
that.
not,
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with the 12, the firefighting fund out of that.
No.
Looking at what we have from the beginning of the year till now, we should have some left over to carry over if we have a shortage for next year. So I think we just dropped that 12,000 period.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be happy with the budget otherwise.
Okay, if that's the board. what the board
I mean,
wants to do.
that's fair to people.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to pay for two fire departments.
So that'll bring us down to 78,920 for general fund.
78,920.
78,920 if we go to zero. And I think that'll be fair. So that's decreases it a little under
If I'm
well,
not
9,000.
Sorry, if I'm not mistaken, since you're not taking that out the general fund, it's still possible to find that elsewhere to pay them if you needed to be.
No, if we run short, it will come out of the general fund no matter what.
But
I'm
There-
trying to figure it out.
let me explain. In years past, when you have money left over, it's saved in the category that it wasn't spent in.
Gotcha.
So there's money saved that wasn't spent in firefighting. So there's some money that wasn't spent in firefighting that if we need a little more, we can appropriate money out of that. It'll come out of the firefighting. It'll be the right people paying for their own service. It won't be taking somebody else's taxpayer to pay for another person's service.
And is it possible to get 2024 as well?
That's
He
online.
yeah,
Online?
Yeah,
Okay.
he
how
doesn't
do I
have a
set that up?
copy.
it's Gateway. You just have to type in Indiana Gateway. And
Indiana
then
Gateway.
that'll get you all, everything for the state of Indiana for budget wise.
Okay.
Just go to Wells County, Jefferson Township, and then there's different categories you can.
All right, anything else in the general guys that,
Anything else?
So actually, what we're saying, we are dropping the general fund budget by almost $10,000,
correct.
okay?
As of right now, is there anything else you guys seeing?
No. Did you add up the amounts he changed, AJ?
What do you mean?
Well, he went up and down on some of them up above. I never wrote them down.
I did.
So-
I double checked them and I was a couple $100 off, but it's very
There's-
close to that figure.
There's some that went up a little bit higher, there's some that went way down.
Well, was your figure accurate with them in, or was it the figure that he had on the paper?
That it's what he had in and everything, because I compared it, I did the same thing with 2020, what we had for 2024 to 2025.
Okay.
So,
that number is good with his other adjustments above that.
correct, yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
that
what I
78,920 is good with all the other increases he did or decreases.
Okay, let's go down to township assistance. Township assistance, it's a little more confusing because I've got different line items than I had last year. But I will go through what I've got here and explain it the best I can. My investigator's salary, there again, the 7.6%, I raised her $400 to $5,400 from $5,000 last year. Emergency shelter, we didn't actually have emergency shelter on the budget from last year, so that's an increase of $500 there. Housing, we had $5,000 last year. I actually published $10,000 and then adopted $5,000. I am asking for $10,000 this year.
How much have you spent this year on housing?
I don't know that I've got that. I can tell you without the investigator's salary, I have spent around $4,000 this year on township assistance. And we budgeted $25,800. So last year, we had an extremely bad year. Township assistance was way up. This year, it's been way down. And I think Karen and I have learned our job a little bit better, that we have been able to bring some of these numbers under control a little bit better because of the training that we have received. Okay, housing, last year, $12,000. I've lowered that down to $10,000. So it's, we've dropped that $2,000. Utilities, I've increased that by $1,000 from last year because we found out that that was a place that we need to spend a little more money and maybe a little bit less money on the housing. Food and supplies, we rarely spend any money on food because there's so many wonderful food banks in our area. But just in case that didn't work out, I'm actually dropping that. I'm only putting $100 in there, which is $400 less than last year. The household supplies, that wasn't a line item last year. So I've got adding $200 to that. Okay, if we go to the next page. Transportation was not in last year's budget. We did have auto fuel in there. Auto fuel is $200 less than last year. Transportation, I'm forecasting $1,700, which basically ends up being $100 more than last year. Healthcare is healthcare was not an item last year, so that's an increase of $200. Funerals and cremations and burials. A funeral, we can only pay for cremations unless the family says they do not want, they qualify and they do not want cremation, then we have to pay some more money. But we have never, in my term, we have not had a funeral. but a funeral would cost $3,000. I'm only forecasting $1,000 there because I hope we don't have a funeral. Insurance wasn't a line item. No, it wasn't a line item, but we didn't publish any money for insurance last year. This year I'm asking for $200. No way.
What kind of insurance is that?
Karen, what do you remember exactly what kind of insurance that?
I had one that was, a man had a heart problem.
Oh, yes.
We paid insurance on certain things that he had to do.
He would have lost his health
Was it
insurance.
health insurance,
It was-
property insurance?
No, it was to do with health. We, I thought we lost him, but.
He was in the hospital for over a month, unable to work.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
a health insurance that would cover what cares for him to make sure that his monitors all work.
Okay,
And special phones and everything, and that insurance was helpful. He often paid it himself because for a while he did blood donations.
Thanks, Karen. Under other direct relief, this is something that is part of the township assistance portion of the TA7 form that we have to turn into the state when we turn in the budget. And it just sort of is a collect-all for miscellaneous things that don't show up anywhere else. So that was never in the budget last year. So I've got a $500 increase there. Prescriptions, we had $500 in there last year. We've never paid prescriptions, have we? Just once? Well, I probably made a mistake there then. We probably should have had something in there. But we can cover it with some of these other ones. So actually, on this budget, I'm requesting $25,800, which is the same budget that we had for last year. The prior year, we spent like $42,000 on township assistance. Like I said, that was an extremely bad year. I told the board that this year it's going pretty smooth. We had about 3 people last year that basically they've lost their jobs because of health reasons. They could not work. They had rent payments, car payments, and we kept these people above water. And eventually they got on disability, and we're not paying them anything anymore. They're out on their own, and we'll never see them again. But we kept them from losing the house that they had. We kept them from losing the rental property they had. We kept them from losing the vehicles that they had. And now they're citizens, and they're the type of people that you don't want to take people on poor relief and think anything less of them than what they are. They already feel terrible. They don't want to come to us in the first place to ask for help. We're our last resort. And so we vet these people very carefully. And what is it called? My Case that we're using now. There's a thing called My Case that we can get on, and we can find out if any of these people have a history of they've been arrested before. And you may want to explain that just a little bit, Karen, how that works.
I'd rather not, Larry. Let's just keep moving.
Okay, well, are you happy with the 25,800?
How many township assistance applicants have you had so far this year?
Do you remember, Karen, about how many township assistants we've had this year? Now, do you want just the ones who applied or the ones we paid for?
The ones that applied, how many people have applied?
Pardon?
I've had a lot of people apply that just don't qualify.
So how many, so you've had quite a few apply then?
What's a guess? Just give me a rough number.
Yeah, what,
Probably 12.
Okay, and how many, we've helped, what, 5, you say?
5.
Okay.
and how many last year did we have then?
Oh, it was a lot.
Probably.
We had 40 some, I think, that applied last year.
So-
We probably helped maybe 12, about 20 of them, and we had 5 that were chronic. And every month it was like, what are we going to do to get these people moving? And we worked on budgets with lawyers to include them factoring the disability issue. And,
So why keep the budget the same then? Why,
Well,
why don't we drop it?
last year-
Where's the rest of the money then?
Last year, if you remember, last year, we completely drained the Township Assistance Fund because we had such a bad year. Now we're just trying to get it built back up, so if we do have another bad year, we've got the money in there, and I had to borrow 18,000 from the general fund last year to pay for the township assistance, and I'm trying to avoid that this year. I want to build it back up, so if we do have another bad year, which could easily happen, we've got the money there, and we don't have to take and appropriate it from anything else.
I don't have any issues with that amount, because it stays the same. Like I said, just in case we have another bad year. And if for some reason we have another low year next year, we can bring it down next year, but for now, I
The
think we'll
only-
keep it
We
where it is.
we appropriated money last year. If you run out of money, we can appropriate more, which we did last year. Did we
had to-
appropriate
no,
more
we
money?
didn't. We borrowed it. We had to
No,
borrow.
no,
it from
no.
the general
Did we
fund.
appropriate you from the 2023 budget? Didn't we appropriate you more money halfway through the
We
year?
did appropriate there because we were running low.
So we can appropriate more money if need.
I
if
didn't
need
have
be.
I couldn't appropriate the money last year from the general fund, from the township assistance fund, because we was completely out of money. The year before, yes, we were able to appropriate money because the
Okay,
fund
so
had
if you
it.
need more money, if you don't spend all this, then we can appropriate. If you spend it all,
That's
we can
true, but I'm
appropriate more
trying
money.
to, we were zero. If you look at, we were $7,500 in the hole this year when we started the year. I don't want that to happen again. I want to keep the budget where it is so we can build that fund back up again.
So what, David, it comes to the point, where do you want to take it from?
I'm not asking to take it from anywhere. I'm just saying,
Then
are we here to build a fund for taxpayers' money, build a fund with it? I mean, if he needs it, we can appropriate
well,
it.
then let's go, what lines do you want to reduce if you want to reduce it? Let's go look at that. What lines do you want to reduce?
I was looking at the emergency shelter. I noticed you said that wasn't there last year.
Yeah.
I don't know of any storm shelter here other than in Cozy Court, so I don't know why that's there.
That could be for,
That-
say, their house catches fire, they can go get a hotel room.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's for.
That's what that's for.
So is there any lines you want to take down, David?
I just think we don't need that much money in there until he spends it. If he spends it, then we can appropriate more
Like say
money.
we got to figure out where we got to take it from. Where do you want to take it from? We got to have somewhere to take it from. We can't just have nothing. We can't just say want or no. We got to have somewhere to take it from. Do you want to drop utilities down to 5,000 like last year? We'll take 1,000
Yeah.
off there.
That's fine.
My job is to present you with a reasonable
Right.
budget based on past history.
Transportation,
what I'm
you
doing.
want to drop that one
Yeah.
down to
Yeah,
last year's
and the
number
housing,
16?
we can drop housing down 1,000.
You want to do housing to 9,000?
Yep.
Okay. Where else?
Where we at?
AJ, give me those numbers again, would you, please?
So housing, gonna go down to 9, utilities down to 5.
Hold on. Utilities down to 5. Okay,
Yeah,
Transportation down to 16. And everything
well,
else. is
hold on,
down.
let me
Or is
see,
there-
the transportation. 1,000 for transportation. I don't know why we need that much. for
that's a
transportation.
mistake. That is a big mistake. I know these numbers, guys. I've worked with them. I know the bills that come in.
You run 'em.
Okay, I got 1,600 for transportation. What, any other ones, AJ?
Not at the moment. I'm trying to do the math here real quick.
What is other direct relief?
It's just a catch-all there's a lot of things that fall.
Transportation. that's-
Karen, do you remember other direct relief, some of the things that fall into that?
I had a lady who had to get back and forth to appointments for doctor, and we paid her car insurance for 2 months. And that went into other direct relief because it didn't. I had to have an inspector for a particular property. I was gonna help them or not, and it depended on the quality on
But
what we should be doing and what the landlord should be doing. So we sent some money from there, and I used other direct relief for that particular client. And then that was the end. We never went on with them because
Okay,
the termination was that.
I think we're gonna drop transportation down 1,000. So with those totals of dropping those down, that goes down to 23,200.
you're dropping transportation to 1,000?
Correct. That leaves us with
You wanna drop
23,200
more,
for the budget for next year.
What's the total, AJ?
23,200.
I got a question for Karen.
Go ahead.
Do you pay car insurance very often for people?
I had about 5 months where I paid car insurance on one of the young men, the one with the heart trouble. I mean, he was in the hospital. He was at the hospital 3 days a week. I didn't have to hire WOW. I didn't have to get my tail in my car and drive him. I didn't have to figure out Uber. I just paid his car insurance. And he was a very proud young man, and he was very appreciative. But yes, we have, simply because the law says that in a situation where there's a decision made, then the trustee tells me what to do, and then I do it.
I guess we just supply the money.
Okay, any more questions on township assistance?
So what did that bring it down to total?
23,200.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to township fire. This year, last year we broke it down. The trustee was paying insurance, operating supplies, training, fuel, all kinds of things I was paying. Based on the fire agreement that the town of Austin has presented to us for our signature, the new way it would work is we would split the budget 50-50. And our share under operating expense would be $125,739. Last year, our total budget was, the current budget for 2024 is $79,000. Now, the biggest reason this has went up is because of the shortage of volunteer firemen. And basically that's the biggest expense, increase, I should say. And I will be able, if we, like Tim says, all the little bits and pieces that we end up getting from the state, I will end up with a total of $115,638 this year. Or I'm sorry, for next year, for 2025. So that leaves us about $10,000 short, which the board has agreed that we can take that out of the extra money that we're going to have left over in the fire department fund.
Well, it'll be from what we've had left in years past.
Right,
That too.
right,
Because
right.
we actually clipped a little extra this year from fire department too. So.
The only thing, you've got that all in one category. The town presented what they wanted last night, and we offered to fund their budget 50%. And we offered to fund it by paying half of the labor, and then we continue to pay the fuel and the different items that we had paid for in the past, and they voted it down. They wanted just a check. So if that agreement died, we didn't agree to it
You
because
didn't sign it, no, but it's not dead. The town council signed the new 2025 fire agreement last night to approve me and them to spend $739,000, which is 50% of the 2025 firefighting budget. Now, I receive 50% of this 115,638. I receive this is the money I'm getting from the state. I receive 50% of that money in June, and I receive 50% of that money in December. So prior to June, I basically don't have money to pay a lot of these bills unless we start using the money, extra money that we've got accumulated in the firefighting fund. So that's the reason that the town has proposed that I give them 50% of the money in June and 50% in December. The town is not going to budge, Tim, from that fire agreement that you saw last night. That is what they're presenting. And I think we should be very thankful that they are being so kind to us, knowing how much more money they've had paid in the past. Actually, if they came to us and they said, Larry, we want you to pay 60% of the budget, and we're only going to pay 40%, they could easily do that, and we still would not have fire protection if you guys do not sign the fire agreement.
If we operate the way that you want to sign that agreement, that's what will happen. Because we will not have any equipment to say, hey, we own
Tim, what
this.
equipment?
It's not going away.
Why we talked last night, Tim, was fire trucks will still be the individual ownership of whether it's the town of Ossian or Jefferson Township. That is not changing hands. So we'll still buy tankers. We'll still buy whatever big fire trucks we need. So we'll still have ownership of that. That is not changing. I don't know why you got it in your head that you're thinking that's going to change. That is not changing. So it needs to be, all we're talking about is the operating expense. We're not talking about fire equipment besides the gear the guys wear. That's the only thing that's in the operating budget is the gear that they wear, not hoses, not anything else. It's the gear they wear and not fire trucks. So you need to get out of your head that we're going to have to buy their fire trucks. We're not buying their fire trucks. They're not going to take our fire trucks. We'll still own our fire trucks. I don't know why you have it in your head that they are going to take ownership of our fire trucks. They're not going to do that.
We made them a fair proposal to pay 50% of their budget. Whether they pay for the stuff or we pay for the stuff. We've always paid in the past because them two guys sitting right
I don't
there.
care what those two guys did. What
Now,
they did is totally wrong.
Don't interrupt me.
I will interrupt
Don't.
you.
AJ, calm down.
What they did in the past may not be right. We're talking about the future, Tim. We're not talking about the past. What those guys did, it may have been fine 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We're talking about 2024. I'm tired of the past. We have to do something correct now. We're not going back into the past anymore, Tim. We got to talk about the future.
So we're not entitled to
We have
know
say
any of this?
we have a note in that.
We're not entitled to know any of this.
We do.
budget?
We do. The Ossian Ben back there presented the budget. We had the budget wherever he went back there. But Ben presented the budget. We had a say in it. I'm sorry you guys had other stuff going on. You can attend that meeting. But we had a say in that meeting with the budget. Now, we got to work on
So what
this
did,
stuff.
what did you propose that we do? That we just give them the money?
My proposal, which everybody turned down, was to pay Ossian every month. Pay them a bill every month. You guys turned that down. That was my proposal, was to pay Ossian every month. That way they send us an invoice every month. So we have an invoice every month from them. But you guys turned it down.
And the reason we turned it down, because it's like Larry said, when it come to negotiation, the only thing we would have to negotiate is them slips of paper where we paid that stuff.
Well, you're paying us.
Let me
Is the town paying for this
finish.
stuff? Is the town paying for this stuff?
It will be.
Okay, so then why can't we pay for our half of it
Why
on
should
our own?
why should we
Why
two
can't we-
people
why-
pay the same bill?
What do you mean pay the same bill?
Because we're going to have to split the bills either way. Ben's going to go order the gear from the same company, why should he have to go to the company, hey, here's
So we're
one
gonna-
purchase order, here's a second purchase order?
So
Why
we've
can't you
been
give him
splitting
one?
all the repairs then on all of our equipment?
We
and
will be,
everything?
but they will still make sure they take care of our equipment.
But-
He's not gonna reject the equipment, whether it's Jefferson and Ossian, because he wants good working equipment. He's not going to deny repairing our stuff.
We had an idea of a way to fund half that budget, and they turned it down. We talked about paying 50% of their labor, writing them that check. So it covered the volunteer firefighters, and we keep, whether we pay the bill or they pay the bill, it's the same amount of money.
Same amount of
It's
money.
just, we would have an ownership tie, we would have ownership. we-
Ownership based on the agreement that was presented.
Tim, the town saves me a lot of work because they're willing to pay all these bills and they're gonna provide us with the receipt monthly of what that money went for.
Mr. Kidford.
You're paid $13,000 a year to do this work. The fire for hose, for turnout gear and that bill come directly from the vendors to Larry, and he had to pay it, and we had a title to it. Now, if we pay the town, they send us a receipt, and all we have is that receipt, and if they go to bargain and say, you're gonna pay 60% of the budget, all we have to show is that receipt. We'll have equipment if we stay the way we are. We're being fair, we're agreeing to pay for half of the labor, and we're agreeing to subsidize the budget, the 50%.
You're still going to have proof. If we buy turnout gear, it's like say 6 sets of turnout gear, there is still gonna be a receipt there showing that Jefferson Township owns 3 sets of turnout gear.
Them two guys sitting back there are ex-trustees. I was on the board with Lloyd. He was a trustee before I was on the board. But I served with him on the board. Rich was a trustee, and Lloyd and I was both on that board, and we were told by the state, be billed directly from the vendor, so you have a record of what you own.
You will still have a record of what you own. This has been run by the DLGF, and the DLGF has said what I am doing is fine. If you go over to Markle bills, there's about 5 other fire departments they're working with. They bill them 20%.
But
And
Larry,
that's
what,
just the way it is.
They already said they can't spend our money that we've got appropriated for them this year, because they can't spend it.
We
on-
can do it because there was an amendment done. That's why we're allowed to
So
spend that money.
you're saying now they can spend it all?
The 79,000,
Yeah,
if we
they can spend
budgeted
it, no, wait, you say they can spend all those 79,000?
We budgeted 79,000. If they need it, yes, but they can't go a penny above that. And if they don't spend 79,000, it stays in the fire fund.
Well, they told us the other night they can't spend our money. So
That was
we're
you
giving
that
them
said
more
that.
money.
The amendment that we had allows us to spend the amount of money for the volunteer, for the labor. You guys allowed us to spend the money for the labor. You didn't let us spend the money for the fire hydrants. So we got the amendment done, which allows us to spend 35,000 for the labor.
Can I have Ben speak here real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question. You keep saying that you won't have equipment, you only have a receipt. I'm confused because I give you a receipt. I don't give you the equipment. So I'm giving you the exact same thing.
So
how is
then,
that different?
why,
I
okay,
give-
so then tell us
Can I-
what,
Let me ask my question.
okay,
Let
go
me ask
ahead,
my
go
question.
ahead, go ahead.
So how is that different than if I'm giving you the receipt or the township's giving you the receipt? How is that different?
Because the receipt would be coming directly from the vendor. It would say exactly what was bought. It'd have serial numbers on it. And both of them guys will tell you, that's what we were instructed to do from the state.
What's the difference? What's the difference from you giving the town the bill to giving us the bill? What's the difference? Why is there a
The difference
difference?
is that, one, this is a thing between the town and township. I'm asking a question because I didn't understand.
No, I'm asking you though, what's the difference between you giving us the receipt versus giving the town a receipt?
I don't think there's really any difference.
So you don't have a problem with giving us a receipt, then it's the town that's got the problem with it?
With billing our vendors?
Yeah, with bill, so you don't have a problem with it. with giving us a receipt from the vendor and we paying the bill.
Well,
But I'm not the one making the call. It's not a contract between you. It's contracting you and the town.
So then,
They are because it took 10 months to get you guys to agree to pay the 35,000 you budgeted for this year. It took you 10 months to pay for the manpower. I do not have an issue with that. I talked to constituents. I do not have an issue with that.
we tried to keep the fire agreement the same, which read like it did. You guys would have had, they had an opportunity to pull the contract on us last year if they really wanted to change it that way.
We tried to change that, David, and you have not let us
Now
change
listen,
it.
yes, we did. We worked with you guys and gave you the money for the manpower, did we not? Once we figured out what went on, once we figured out, now wait a minute, once we figured out what went on, that Larry and a town board member spent money they couldn't spend according to what the contract said. And we had to work that issue out first to figure out what they did and why they did it. We weren't consulted about it. Once we got consulted about it, once we figured out what we have to do to make it right, we did make it right, and we did give you the extra money, did we not? Well,
I would like to.
go ahead.
Then you say 10 months later, but we were following the existing contract. We were following that to T, and that never was changed until we made the amendment, and we didn't make that amendment till May of this year. And then May of this year, we agreed to amend the agreement and give you $35,000. And the next meeting we had, they took it to the town accepted it, and we signed it and sent you your check the very next meeting. But that was never, no. In May, we made the offer in our meeting, and then Larry took it to the town, and the town accepted it, and then it had to come back to our meeting to be signed, and it was signed. We amended it to where we could pay $35,000, and you got your check right away. So there was no 10 months. We were following our contract that we had.
I wanted
So
you to
the
change
town,
that.
somebody here from the town, so the town is the one that thinks what have we paid the town in years past? What checks have we wrote the township?
The township?
Yeah, what is the township wrote
I don't
the,
have exact numbers for you.
so we wrote you guys checks for stuff in the past for fire.
The whole problem is control. The whole problem is you're worried about a pack that he's gonna buy that has a 5-year lifespan.
We're not worried about that. All we're worried about is paying our bill.
Don't talk over me. I'll
Go
have to
ahead,
walk
go
out.
ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is ignorant. These people, he's I've known him forever, a great friend, dear friend. I'm not gonna let his house burn. I don't care if I live in Ossian, and I don't care whose truck it is. Why do you want to complicate it when Angie told you last night she will give you documents monthly whenever it's purchased? On every item that's bought, it'll be split 50-50. It's going to be legitimately on paperwork. Back when he did it, from what I understand from what you said,
I'm listening.
you said back when he was a trustee,
I did.
that it was one of you
Yeah,
two,
go ahead.
that it was mandated by the state for him to pay directly and get the vendor bill. It's not anymore. So why would you want to make it harder? That'd be like me hiring 2 accountants for my business to do the same job.
Jeff,
Why would we not just do it through the town, have Angie, if you got documentation that it's your tank, it doesn't matter if I send them the check or that, if we've got a written agreement that half of it's yours. And that doesn't include any of the big stuff, the big toys. It just, the disposable stuff that's gonna run out in, what's the longest thing, radio's 10 years? 5 to 10, whatever.
But I still don't understand. Fenstermaker doesn't have a problem giving us the bill and we paying him. So I don't understand why the town has a problem with it. Because we've never paid you guys, we've never paid you direct before. Why do you have a problem with it?
Okay, Last year, what happened was they wouldn't pay anything but labor, wasn't it?
They wouldn't pay later.
They wouldn't pay labor. So Dennis was in charge of it, and there was a big span, and I don't know exact days, months, whatever you guys do, and it was because of an old contract. So we had to wait 10 months to get this money. Well, we were buying stuff, and we actually had something that came in that we could have applied their money to, because it can't be used for anything but equipment, which that should never been put in there. It should be, if it's 50-50, it's 50-50. So at that time, we didn't have any equipment to apply their money to, so they're holding my money. That'd be like me, you owe me money, and you say, no, because you're not buying that, you can't have your money. It's our money as the town, not, I mean, all these people's. We were trying to pay bills with that stuff, and we can't get to it because of some silly rule that was put up. And that was the problem. So why not, if it costs $300,000 to run the fire department, 150, because again, I was amazed that when he did that budget, Jefferson Township and Ossian were dead equal, which I don't know how that happened. But if down the road in 2 years it becomes 60-40 and Ossian's using 60%, we can adjust the percentages, and it's always fair as long as we've got records of the purchases.
But I'm still,
Can I talk a minute?
yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Part of the problem is, Jeff, just like you said, I said last night, I wasn't denying the firefighters fire packs, but I asked how many years were left on their old fire packs, and there was 2 years left, so they're buying new ones that overlap that time frame. Well, it's a 10-year item. So if you're doubling up, you're losing out there, because if you don't need that thing and it's only got a 10-year life, and that's the kind of questions, when we're responsible for the money, we ought to be able to ask. Now, Ben answered it, and I was okay with that. But we got to be able to ask them kind of questions. And when we ask them questions, you guys get bent out of shape on them. Well, you started in the night how we were squabbling about the air packs.
Well,
And it was,
the only reason we bought them early was because you saved us how much per pack or not?
I don't remember now.
It was like
$1,800
it was
back.
$1,800, $2,000. He saved us because of a deal he got in with the state.
but here's my thinking. And I'm okay as long as, but he bought $168,000 worth of equipment that had a 10-year life. And we had bought air packs that had a 5-year life, and there was 2 years of life left on that.
Tim, you're not saying that. You're saying that wrong. Okay, and it's a big difference what you're saying wrong. Okay, we bought air packs 12 to 15 years ago. Okay, the air bottles are good for 15 years. They're a separate device. Okay, you have your air pack, which is actually what the firefighter wears, and there's a bottle that goes on the pack. Those bottles we were able to use from the previous ones that are older. They were outdated. So the Preble Fire Department would fill for us. They would no longer fill them at a fire scene because it was dangerous. So we bought new bottles. Okay, we bought new bottles that were a 5-year refurbished bottle. Okay,
Yeah.
for a decreased amount. Okay,
Right.
instead of buying 10-year bottles.
Right.
or
I remember
15-year
that
bottles.
because we
But
had.
you're saying it wrong, and it's very, very important that this is said correctly.
We're getting off course here because we're sticking to the budget here.
We're not.
It's- we're- The budget,
So that is mine. So what we did, we bought refurbished bottles, not packs, that are gonna be out of date in 2 years, that are no longer good because we're getting brand new packs, okay? That's a big, huge difference than what you just explained.
I'm still, go ahead.
I have a
I'll let.
question. It used to be that the trucks, you had to do inventory on those trucks every year. And whatever the township bought, we had to make sure that equipment was on our truck. Do you not do that anymore?
I have to provide, what Ben does. Ben provides me with an inventory.
But you don't do the inventory, you let them do it.
Correct.
that correct?
They know a whole lot more about it than I do. This is the new rule. Every other year, I have to provide an inventory, and Ben provides that for me. And I do have an inventory of the trucks, but he provides me with the inventory of the turnout gear and all the miscellaneous stuff.
We had to inventory our own, and Ossian had to inventory their own, and we would find stuff on wrong trucks. And you needed both of them there to,
That's not a requirement. That's not a requirement now.
so it's not for your requirement.
Every other year I provide,
But
every other year I provide an inventory.
you guys don't want to know it.
Yeah, it would be nice to know what
The
we have.
board
what we
has
don't
that
have.
Here's what you bought, you want to make sure.
I gave the board that inventory. Go ahead back there, Mr. Orange.
I'm an Ossian resident. My mom lives in Jefferson Township. If I'm hearing this right, you're telling me that the fire station has township equipment and Ossian equipment? So they gotta take the time to make sure they get the right equipment before they go on the run?
No. It's,
Because we look at it as one fire department.
Yeah,
We are
it's-
two separate
That's what I'm
entities.
saying, but they're saying that you have.
Oh, I know what they're saying, but as a fireman, and every fireman in here, we do not ever look at it as two separate fire departments.
That's what I'm getting at.
It's
Why is
Ossian
there
Fire
an
Department,
issue?
it's not Jefferson Township. We don't, if we need to take a truck that's broke down, or one of our other engines broke down, we're gonna take whatever engine we need to take to put the fire out.
I get it.
That's the whole
That's
point.
the way it should be done.
Right.
Why is,
Yeah, we don't look at it as two separate entities.
we are one group
entity.
of people.
They're the ones that want to make it separate.
Why are we trying to divide this and make it more difficult than it needs to be?
We're Jefferson Township. This board takes care of the entire Jefferson Township. But for some reason, the board seems to want to split this from Ossian and Jefferson Township. It's all Jefferson Township. We represent all of Jefferson Township.
I agree with, I understand.
You're exactly right.
It's always been split.
Why is it?
It seems so complicated.
It should not be split, but see, the township owns certain fire trucks and the town of Ossian. That's what sort of causes a split, but there should be no split.
Let's all just be one.
Right.
One big.
Part of it is it's taxed two different groups. You're taxed two different groups. You're taxed for your fire protection if you live in Ossian from the town of Ossian, and you're taxed if you live outside of Ossian in Jefferson Township from the township. And so it's two different pots of money. So we have we each have our own equipment.
How about USA back there?
All right, since you're complaining about two different things, whoever the vendors are, why don't you have them split the bill? They get a bill for you guys, and Austin gets a bill. That way, there's not a problem anymore, because this is going on, never went on before. My dad would roll over in his grave if he heard all this shit,
We have done that. We have done that in the past.
and we need to do
But-
it again.
With the new agreement that the town has proposed, that can't be done. And right now, the town council has presented us with agreement, and they have signed it. And they said, if we don't sign the township agreement, they will not provide fire protection. They are sticking by that agreement. All we're talking about tonight, we're not talking about the agreement. The board has already approved that they would pay us $125,739. That's the only thing we need to talk about right now. Are you going to go ahead and budget 100? You said last night you would pay 50% of the budget.
50% better than us having.
I did agree to pay 50% of the
Okay, that's
budget.
all we're talking about, is the budget.
But, that's right. But there are different line items, fuel, operating expenses, maintenance. That 125 needs to be split up if,
The town is not agreeing to that, Tim.
well, they cannot agree. We can present our proposal, they presented theirs, Larry.
This is just for Ossian, correct? Not including Jefferson, the 125, 70.
This is for Jefferson.
This is for Jefferson,
This is
not
just
Austin.
Jefferson.
Austin's paying the same amount.
Tim, guys, quiet. Tim, so what I'm getting at is you just want it in a broke down line item, whether or not we go, whatever agreement we go with. So if Larry would break that back down into line items, you'll be happy. So he takes the Ossian budget, put the budget that way, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
All right, that's as simple as that. Let's do that. Larry, can you just, Larry, I understand what you're getting at. Let's just try to make this happy for now. Take Ossian's budget.
Agreement.
I got it.
Not,
It's just, it doesn't matter. The town agreement works whether you break it down or not. Because it's going to be the same line items, Larry, as the town. So whether they pay fuel or whatever we do, the same line items is going to be paid by that budget. So whether it's manpower, that line item budget is going to be manpower.
who's going to decide?
Yes,
Go ahead.
can I say
Yeah,
something?
go ahead. If I don't attend that.
You represent the township,
Entire township, yes.
and your board is telling you what we want to propose to the town, and you keep going back to the town is this and the town is that. You are supposed to be representing the township, and you need to work with your board on what they want to present to the town so they can have a contract.
You forget that you represent Jefferson Township, the entire Jefferson Township, which includes
But
Ossian.
it's we pay two separate taxes.
Your job is to do what the constituents of the township want.
Yes.
My job is to represent the entire Jefferson Township.
But they pay
And do
different,
what
we pay
best
different
for Ossian
taxes.
and
Larry,
Jefferson.
we pay a different tax rate. We
Okay,
pay
guys,
different
let's get
taxes.
back- Larry, coming out. Guys, quiet in the public. Larry, to solve this issue, just go ahead, take Ossian's budget, put it into ours the same way, break it down 50-50. That's gonna solve the issue right now. We're still gonna be paying half. Let's just do that and get over with it,
How
all
are we
right?
going to know what bill? Are we going to pay half of the postage bill?
As of right now, that's the way it's gonna be.
That's a
I know
accounting
it's stupid.
nightmare.
I know it's stupid, but to get this going, Larry, let's do it. All right?
It's an accounting nightmare, and you're going to have another meeting
That's fine.
with the
That's fine.
town of Ossian.
There's no difference. It's one fire department.
One
Go
fire
ahead,
department.
Darlene.
If we want to do it one way, then what's to say that the town can't give Jefferson Township the money and Larry pays the bill?
That's correct.
And we give them
I
the
agree.
money?
Yeah.
Are they willing to do that?
Are you willing to do that?
That's never been talked about.
Are you willing to do that, Jeff?
I'll take it to the board,
Okay.
because it's all controlled.
What are you going to gain by doing that?
Right.
So,
What
okay,
makes the
and
difference?
let's
As
get
long as they
back.
get their
Guys,
money,
let's get
then
back. So
to
Larry,
them, what's it matter?
okay, David. So Larry, go ahead. We'll have to have another meeting. So let's put that in the budget, break it down that line items. Let's do it that way. We'll have to have 2 more meetings. That's fine. But we have to, just to move forward, we need to do that. Break it down to the line items and we'll go forward. But we're approving that 125,739.
Okay. Okay, next item, fire equipment debt, that's just standard, that's for the fire truck that we will have paid off, December of
Excuse me,
2026.
do I have an answer of whether somebody is actually going to take what I asked?
We can't, we have to get with Ossian on that, so we can't answer that right now.
Somebody is following.
We're gonna talk to Ossian. We gotta have more meetings with Ossian. We got several months before the end of the year.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk to Ossian. We're gonna keep going back and forth.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, whether it's going to be followed up or whether it's going to be dropped. Public meeting. public-
Yeah,
Correct.
yes,
Everything's public meeting.
yes, yes, it will.
Okay, the last thing is the cumulative township fund. I'm proposing 63,500.
Hold on, we're still going. Hey,
Conduct the
we're
meeting,
still
please.
going
We have
here.
business to do. Let's please keep it quiet. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
On the cumulative fire fund, this is a fund that taxpayers pay into to buy fire equipment. And what I'm proposing is that we buy we've got 2 old tankers now that are between 20 and 25 years old. According to the state, they need to be replaced. And so I am proposing that we're going to buy a new tanker in 2026. And to be able to buy that tanker, which is going to be a $400,000 or $500,000 tanker, I would like to start saving money now and raise the tax rate up for 2025 to 0.0333, which would generate 63,500 starting in 2025, and it would allow us to pay that tanker off in 4 years and 9 months, and it would allow us to save $33,600 in interest. The other option is to take out a 6-year loan. We can only take out a 6-year loan maximum. And if we take out a 6-year loan, which would basically keep your tax rate the same as it is right now, 0.0254 is what you're paying right now per 100,000 to buy this fire engine that we still got a year left to pay on. What I am suggesting is for 1 year, we raise your taxes up to 0.0333 to generate this 63,500 for the fire truck tanker. And after 2025, your taxes, the 0.0254 that we are currently paying for the fire truck right now, that will drop off the books, and you would continue to pay 0.0333 to buy a tanker in 4 years and 9 months rather than 6 years, which would save. This is just Jefferson Township. The town of Ossian is not paying one dime for this fire truck tanker. But it would save the township $33,600 in interest while I'm buying this tanker.
Do the math on that, Brian, will you? I've tried. I can't get it.
I've got the numbers. I've explained it, and
Now-
I'd be more than glad to explain it to anybody.
Can I ask, why was the Cume fire dropped for so many years?
I'll tell you why the Cume fire was dropped. The Cume fire was put on back when you bought the rescue, right?
Right.
The rescue got paid for and the Cume fire went on. It was like $19,000 a year.
23,000.
23, okay. And it built up some money. We had $186,000 that I think it was 186 that we put down on the $425,000 engine. And then we financed the rest for 6 years, which that is roughly $53,000 a year we're paying on it. We've got 1 more year's payment. But when the radio deal come up, and I went to the town board to present Kenwood's. I wasn't pushing them on the town board. I wanted to know that there was another option. And Ben went off on me, and he said the township never has no money. I said, just a minute, Ben. We just bought you a $425,000 engine, and I had to raise my taxes on my Jefferson Township residents 100% to buy that engine. And you say we have no money. I didn't care whether the town bought Kenwood's, Motorola's, or whatever. I wanted them to know there was an option. We spend our money, they spend theirs. And he went off on us, and I thought, my golly, I raised my people's taxes 100% to buy this engine, and then I get this kind of treatment. So I thought, well, that's a savings account for the next truck. The heck with it. We reduced it down to $1,000 then. And that's why the Cume fire got reduced.
Then you forget that ever so many years, we have to replace our equipment. And it's a whole lot cheaper to save money to buy that, not this equipment now. I just priced a truck that about 5 years ago cost about $400,000. Now it's $800,000. Every year that we wait and not save enough money to buy this truck, the truck prices keep going up. The sooner that we can pay this truck off, the more money that we can save, and the sooner we can buy this truck, it's going to cost us that much less money. Right now, there are used trucks out there that we can buy for $400,000. But I'll guarantee you that that price isn't going to stay in there that long. They're just going up. Ladder trucks are well over $1 million now. And the more money that we can save to buy these trucks, the less interest we have to pay when we do actually buy the truck. Even if we get this new tanker paid off, we need to continue to save money to buy the next fire truck so that we don't have to borrow the entire amount of money when the time comes.
Okay, so let's get back here. So last year, our total budget was 245,975.
Well,
Right now, before fire cum,
Okay.
it's 280,548. That major increase is because of manpower for town bossing, for the fire department, for the fire department. If we added the fire cum into that currently right now with what other adjustments we have, it'll be 344,048. What I would propose is splitting the difference between the fire cum and the fire debt, which would be 10,811, which will put us up to 291,359. That way, we're starting to save a little bit. We don't need to buy a fire truck in 2026. I think the fire department says 2028 is the scheduled replacement. So if we start out with that 10,811 for next year, then we can bump it up to that 63 after the fire debt's gone. Would you guys be agreeable to that?
If you wait till 2028
I get it,
to
Larry.
buy that
I
fire
get it.
truck, it's probably going to cost you another couple $100,000.
I get it.
And you're going to lose everything you gained.
I understand, but that's where we're at. Technically, the replacement's not till 2028. But if something changes, if Ben can find a great deal and it works out, we could talk about it next year. But we just need to focus on this. I think if we just split the difference to do the 10,811 so we can start building that fire cum up a little bit, and whether or not we buy one next year or in 3 years, that gives us a start, then we can increase that back up. And then instead of doing a fire debt, when we buy a fire truck, hopefully we have enough saved up that we can take that, we're still have to get a loan. So whatever loan we get, we can take it out of the fire cum. We don't have to do a fire debt. We can take it out of that fire cum at the 60,000.
We have money in fire cum right now.
Right, we're building it. We're investing in it. We're doing that 5% interest, which is going to help right now, but we need to keep helping that out. We can't just sit idly by. And
You put $1,394 in that fund to buy a $400,000 truck per year.
But we're raising interest on what we have also. But last year, if you had a farm in Jefferson Township, your township share of taxes went up 120%. Now last year, we had 132,000 we spent for fire protection between our debt. Well, actually 133 between the cum fire and between what we budgeted. If you go this 63,000, you're going to be spending $242,000 for fire protection between the cum fire, the debt we still have,
and that's why I'm not proposing the full 60,000.
and the $125,000 that were said we'll come up with if the town decides they want us to match that budget.
That's why I'm not saying the full 6310.
So,
I'm saying 10,811, which will put us at 291,359 for the year.
But then we'll end up with 280,000, and we had a 241. We've had nothing but increases like this. And here's what I propose. We leave that cum fire alone this year till we get that debt paid off. Get the debt paid off. Pay that 53,000, and then next year we can put the cum fire on and start saving. Cum fire is a savings account.
Right.
It's a savings account, and when you got debt to pay, do you want to be saving?
Yes.
By the time you put all that together, it's a lot of money.
I would say I've got debt and I am saving money too. That's just a smart thing to do, Tim. I know you do it with your own stuff. You have debt on your own personal stuff, but you're still putting stuff aside, right? You don't just let your savings account go empty.
I'm proposing that we leave the Cume fire where it's at this year, pay the tanker off, and then if you want to save money for another truck, save it then. Don't double up on the taxpayer. It's hard enough for them to make it. Let them earn interest on their own money.
We're
There's
gonna
no
probably end up
sense.
doubling up in the future then. We gotta stop this poor management of this township. That's where the issue we're into right now is poor management from years and years of poor management. Sorry to say, it's been poor management. That's why we just need to split the difference. I'm not asking for half of that 63. I'm only asking for 10, 8, 11. Come meet me at that point, Tim.
No. I'm gonna wait till that debt's paid for, and then I am glad to collect the 63,000 or whatever that .033 will raise.
This will equal. That's why I say just it'll equal out to that. So you start a little bit now. That any little bit helps. You know that any little bit helps. The more we can, the little bit we can get.
Your budget's already went up $40,000 without this.
Because of poor management, for past poor management. And that's we're going to try to fix this now. If we don't fix it now, it's only going to get worse. We can't let it keep getting worse.
I told you what my proposed fix is. Wait till next year.
AJ, what were you proposing on the 63,500? What were you proposing?
10, 8, 11. 10, 8, 11, David.
How much?
What's your thoughts? Can we just save a little bit? I think that'll be the smart thing to do.
Actually, this year, Tim, we didn't put any money into the port. It was zero money that we put in.
All I know is the people that have called and talked to me don't want their taxes raised.
It was zero. Last
So
year it was 1394.
we can't have it either both ways. Either you don't want your taxes raised, and I mean, yes, eventually we're all gonna have to pay it.
Well,
But everybody has their own personal way of how they want to do their and it's their money. It's not our money. And I agree with Tim. Let it go. And once we get it paid off, then we can raise it and start saving money.
I've had people telling me they want that full 63.
Well,
That's the thing. They want that full 63. They want that full 344.
In the long run, David, it's going to cost the taxpayer less money. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide them a way of reducing their taxes. It will reduce their taxes.
We're not saving the taxpayer any money
Yes, you are.
because stuff's gonna go up.
In 2 years, you will be saving
You're
their
gonna
money.
want something different. We all do. The fire department or somebody else is gonna want something different, something more, and it's gonna cost us more money. We gotta keep funding this, we gotta keep funding that. Nothing's gonna get any cheaper.
This has to be based on the knowledge that we have right now, not what you think's going to happen in a couple of years. We've got the numbers. The numbers are black and white.
I'm
We can
sticking with
save
Tim on
money by doing the 63,500.
I'm sticking with Tim and keeping our taxes lower. Sorry,
So
that's what I'm
we're
gonna
going with
do.
zero then, right?
What happens when a fire truck breaks down? We have to pay for it.
That's
That's
operating.
separate. That's all the operating budget.
The Cume fund's only for purchase of new equipment.
Yeah,
So
this
if
is
for
just
some
new
reason that piece of equipment is no longer repairable, then we'll have to decide at that time what we do. So at this time, Fire Cume does not do anything with repairs. It only deals with buying future equipment, fire trucks, I should say. So we're going with zero. So with my numbers, our total budget for the year will be 280,548.
Larry, I'm confused. You were saying about the Cuban, I thought that already went through. Isn't that already?
The board,
The levy
the
went
board
through.
voted on that, yes. to
Okay,
be
so
raised
we'll
up.
start next year on our taxes,
The
right?
levies, if we don't have a budget, the levy doesn't do anything. The levy just allows us to go up that 63, because before we could do nothing, because there was nothing there for the levy.
Okay, good.
So that's all we did earlier this year was open up the levy to allow us to go up to that point.
So that's what you're trying to decide is how much.
Correct. We could go up to that point there, but we cannot go past that, and that's why the levy was turned off years ago, so we weren't, well, it wasn't completely turned off. It was turned down very, very low, which we're getting like $1,000 a year.
So Larry, you said something like we're only gonna do it for 1 year and then after 25 it's gonna go away, but then you quoted the same
So what's gonna happen?
0.033, whatever that
Right
was.
now, the fire truck we got right now, you're paying 0.0254 rate. That's what you're paying this year, and that's what you're going to be paying next year. But see, next year, that fire truck is going to be paid off. So the 0.0254, you will pay it next year, and the 0.0333, you will also pay for 1 year. But then in 2027, the fire truck is paid for and the 0.0254 drops off, and you just continue to pay the 0.0333, which gives us $69,500 a year to buy this $400, possibly $400 tanker that we can pay off in 3 years and 9 months rather than 6 years and pay $33,000 more in interest.
So for 1 year, you're gonna be double.
Right. Right.
But we're not. We're not. We just talked about it. That's, we're $0 on that.
Yeah.
These two,
That's what you wanted.
we're trying to raise that we're trying to raise our savings account. But these two didn't want to raise the savings account. We went to $0. So that's done. Remove point. We're at $280,548 for the 2025 budget. Anything else?
Anybody else got any questions? Anybody got anything to ask? Anything, ask it. Now's your time. You got, go ahead.
Okay, so, I live in the country in Jefferson. Can I be assured that somehow between now and January 1st, if my house starts on fire,
We're gonna work on that.
We're working on it. We are working on it. We took,
so something's gonna be, somehow.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I missed last night.
Yeah, you're fine.
I got a Facebook message saying that the contract from the town was not gonna be signed for the Jefferson Township fire suppression.
We're, as you can see, we're still working on it.
I'm trying to piece things together and trying to figure out what is the town's problem with what is being offered, or what is being offered to the town to have the town deny signing the contract.
It boils down to, it's pretty simple. They wanted us to fund half the budget. We agreed to fund half the budget, but they want us to just cut them a check. And we said, no, we weren't gonna do that. We agreed to pay for half of the labor, and we agreed to keep buying things that the firefighters need the way we have been, getting billed directly. And they said, no, we're not doing that. Well, they got their money to support their budget, or was proposed, but that's where it's at.
This started a year ago, and you can go back, we've got it in our minutes. You can go back and look at our minutes. We asked to meet with the town over this long time ago. We've asked numerous times. It's in our minutes. You can view it. You don't got to take our word for it. Get our minutes from the years past, and look at what we tried to do. And we've gotten nowhere.
You read the entire minutes, and there has been, the last meeting we had at the fire station, these two gentlemen didn't show up, and we wanted to talk about it then.
Larry,
And 10 months prior to that is when I first approached Tim, and I said, Tim, we need to start talking about this fire agreement. It's obsolete. There's some trucks on here that we don't even have anymore, and there's a new truck on here that we've got. And Tim says, I don't want to change the fire agreement.
No, we did update the fire agreement.
No, we didn't.
Yes,
It was
we
never
did.
changed.
We signed it.
We signed it.
It's in the minutes.
It's in
We
the minutes that
amended the
we
fire
signed
No,
it.
no,
We signed it.
no. Let me
Let him
finish.
finish.
Let
We
me
did
finish.
sign it, AJ.
I
It
don't
was
think
signed.
you were even on here then, AJ, when we
Yeah.
did that.
You want,
Well, we updated it. We took off our old fire rescue, put on the county-owned rescue, and updated it where we would pay the fuel, and the township board signed it. And they took
No.
it to the, I've got the signed copy.
2016 was the last time that I've got a signed
One of us
copy.
didn't get it signed. I don't remember if it was us or the town, but one of us.
The
it
town
wasn't-
didn't sign it, but the township board did.
Yeah,
Right,
correct.
let's talk about the past.
Yes.
So the holdup is trying to figure out who owns what.
No, that's not, we,
Why is there an issue with the billing?
The argument is, I
you
want to
gotta
pay,
ask them.
please, I can explain. The town of Ossian wants us to make 2 payments a year. In December, or January, I'm sorry, in June, when I get the money, I get 50% of my budget in June and the other 50% in December. That's when the town wants us to make the payments to them. What the board is wanting is they want, every time a bill comes in, they want me to pay 50% of it, and they want the town of Austin to pay 50% of it. That includes postage, that includes rent for the building, that includes about 50 different line items. And for me to pay 50% of each one of them would be an absolute accounting nightmare.
That's not
We pay
correct.
$100. We pay $100 to store the fire equipment over there. Jefferson Township.
That is not correct. That is not correct. It's stated that we pay for equipment, we pay for fuel, we pay for different things, not postage. We pay for the software that the firemen use to tell them who's out on a run and that. We pay that with the town, but it's billed directly from the people that sell that software. They send us a bill, we pay it. It's
Yeah.
nothing that the town has to split up and say, you go here, you go here. It comes directly from the vendor, and we have receipts of this stuff. So when we get into a negotiation on a fire contract, we have something to negotiate and stand up for what our people have spent their money on. If we don't do that, all we have is a receipt where you paid for fire protection. And how much negotiation would there be for that piece of paper?
There would be a receipt that shows exactly what.
We have not paid the town anything. What? Go ahead.
Be a receipt for everything that's purchased. It's not-
Andy said she would give you detailed receipts for everything.
Not fire service.
Okay, but we have not, okay, you heard that, Ben just said he's got no issue with us
Contract
doing
not
that.
with the fire department, it's with the town of Austin.
Correct, and the fire department works with.
Correct, well, the town of Austin guy just said that he would let us take over. So let us take over.
That's not what he said.
He did not say that.
He'll take it to
He
the
would
board.
said he'd take it to the board, so there's an option.
I just want to say, if you do your counting like you run the meeting, it's gonna be a disaster.
Yeah.
It's simple, I mean, we've never paid the town anything but for the rent of the building. It's all been kept, and I don't know, your guess is as good as mine, why they all of a sudden want us to cut them a check for it all. Yeah, go ahead.
I would guess that it comes down to control. Last night at the meeting, I want control. I want to control this. I want to do the servicing. You don't know when a fire truck needs service, same as you don't know the difference between an SCBA pack or a bottle. And same as the radios. Don't tell us what we should or shouldn't do. I'm not going to tell you how to farm. I'm not going to tell you which tractor you should use. You know why? Because I'm not a farmer. I know nothing about it. Have you ever run into a burning building? You need to be familiar with the equipment that you run. We need to have
Wait a minute,
interoperability.
is the equipment all state approved? Is the equipment all state approved? Is there equipment all state approved?
State approved, I don't think state approves it.
So the radios and that, there's not the
There's
state
federal
approves them?
guidelines on a whole bunch of stuff, but they all operate differently. So like you talked about the radios. That went around behind the back, talking to a whole bunch of different people about this, that, whatever. Seems like so-and-so's gonna service the fire trucks, that what wasn't us is somebody up there, family member decided to service it and left the firefighters caught a bunch of oil on the ground because they did the service improperly. So there was something like on Facebook about backdoor deals. I don't know who did it. Somebody on the board having a family member start doing stuff. So it's all about control. And the whole operating budget isn't even about buying equipment.
It's about the daily operations. It's not trucks. It's not walkies, correct? That's above and beyond. That's not operation, correct? So why do we keep coming back to equipment? The detailed bills, if you buy, say whatever, we decide to buy 10 sets of gears. Right now, there's only 3 in there, but 10's a nice, easy number. We split it. The town and township, the bill lists the serial numbers and all that. It's real easy to circle serial numbers, by the way, they're dead in 10 years. And you know exactly what old worn out piece of fire gear is yours that is now going to clog up the closet.
Receipts will be provided. There will be no question but what the township owns and what the town of Austin owns. There's just no question about that. Monthly receipts will be given to us to prove everything.
Is there any more questions? Yes, go ahead.
I don't have a question. Well, I have one question.
Yes,
but
go.
I can first have it. You know, I think Larry has to work better with his board, because just like yesterday, dear, Larry, I was at the meeting last night. You gave these fellows their proposed agenda, or their proposed budget at 2:30 in the afternoon. My son, I'm Carol Baker, my son Tim, that's on the board here, was out ditching all day. He never had a chance, other than come home, take a shower, get to the meeting. Never had a chance to look at that ahead of time even, and you throw it at him at the last minute. You were passing budgets out tonight here before the meeting started. I mean, I think you have to work better with your board. They have your best interest in mind, but they also have been elected to represent the township and to do the best that they can to make sure that the township is treated fairly, that they treat the town fairly, and I think you have to have a better workmanship with that board.
That's a two-way street, Carol. I've got a board here that the first number of meetings that I went to, I had 3 people yelling and screaming at me. Now I'm down to I just have 2 yelling and screaming at me. But I'm paid to work 12 hours a week. That's what we're open 12 hours a week. I put in 30 and 40 hours a week that I don't get paid for. I do it because I want to do what's best for the entire Jefferson Township, not just what's best for Jefferson Township outside of Austin. You're not going to find another trustee close by that puts in the hours and the dedication. And I try to work with these guys, but when you got people screaming at you, it's pretty hard to run an accurate meeting and run the place the way that I'm supposed to. But I want to start working with these guys here, but we have, and I think we're getting there. We still got until 2020 into 2027 for this board, and I think eventually we will get there. And I'm certainly going to try and work with them better. And I appreciate your point. You got a very good point.
Well, I just hope that, I look at all you fellows, I'm sure you're all Christian fellows that can get along together. But I think that you ought to work with the board, and if they're to have.
Why don't you say the board works with me also?
Well, back and forth. I think that you should put your best foot forward and go on from here like that. And I have one other question. Is there any communication from Ben to this board as to how they service the equipment that they own, so that they have a service agreement, that they know that it's being changed?
The mechanic who does all the work on the truck is the fireman.
I don't doubt it, I'm just asking,
Yeah,
is there something that they can, so that they can.
John, how do you determine when it's time to service a truck?
Usually go off of a DOT form. I mean, set up by the township as far as the way their trucks are serviced. They're set up for a 5-year every other year. The trucks a lot of times don't roll a lot, but so the miles are down. But I mean, once a year, I'll go to the station, go through them all. I mean, all the officers go through them weekly, monthly. But as far as the oil changes, they get done every other year on the township trucks. Literally all 3 of the township trucks just got done here in the last month. They got full emergency inspections, full DOT inspections, brake adjustments, oil changes, fuel filters, anything that was due to be done. That's all on record, and I will get you the receipts for all that. But,
Okay.
yeah, it's basically off of the state, federal OSHA guidelines and FPA regulations. That's how it's determined what needs done and how it gets done.
Okay, I don't doubt that you take very good care of the equipment, and if the cost of equipment that is, you have to.
Right.
I realize that, but I mean, I'm saying, are you communicating with the township on, since the fire department's taking care of it, do you communicate to let them know?
I let our chief know what is gonna happen, and then he'll let Larry know what trucks are being serviced at what time. And it just happened to be that we were trying to get them all ran through here because it's like usually August, September of every other year is when they get done, so. But yeah, like I think 3 of the town trucks, 3 of the township trucks, and I think I still have the county engine and the city engine.
Well, I just asked because I've handled books way back for farm equipment, and I know it's very
Absolutely.
important to keep it lubricated, et cetera. That's not my department.
Gene, did you have a question back
I
there?
think if you would calculate moving the township fire department out of this building, find your own building to house 3 trucks, pay for 2 to 3 full-time firemen, $25 an hour, and run your own fire department, the $125,000 is pretty cheap.
And we agreed to pay the 125, Gene. It's all boils down to how the billing's done.
So, well, I'm not going to get.
Go ahead, Richard. Go ahead.
Split the bill.
Richard Sorg, I live Jefferson Township, 600 East. It may be a simplistic item here, but if we would just come up with a full written contract of what we expect the fire department to do, and we pay them. And at the end of the day, it's up to them to spend that $125,000 as they see fit on the equipment and maintain it. And if they have a shortfall, then it's on them.
So Richard, what happens when it's 125 this year and it's 250 next year and your equipment is gone and you have nothing to say, well, just a minute, I don't like this. And they said, well, fine, take your receipts and leave.
We're in the same boat as what we are right now.
Right.
No, we aren't. We have something. We have something.
But the equipment's not going away, Tim.
Equipment's
That's the
not going
trouble.
away, Tim.
Equipment's not going away.
It wears out.
Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So the biggest issue is splitting the bills, right? That's why.
It's not really splitting the bills. It's just who they send them to.
Yeah.
They send our,
That's splitting the bills, Tim. That's splitting the bills.
Okay, so politics is one thing I hate. So
I'm getting there too.
I lived in Austin for 53 years. This is the first board meeting I've been.
Thanks for coming.
I don't know positions. I don't really care other than right now. Who pays the bills for the town?
Angie Ealing, the town clerk, pays the bills for the town.
Who pays the bills for Jefferson Township?
I do.
So could it be just as simple as all the even months of the year? Could it be as simple as?
Evidently, you're not an accountant either, are you? You're not an accountant either,
No,
right?
I'm not.
Okay.
If it's that much of a hassle to have the billing, and it's a matter of who gets the invoices.
The town would receive all the invoices and they would pay all of the invoices. I would not, the only invoice I would pay is 2 times a year. I'd pay 50% of the budget to the town, and the town clerk would take care of paying all the bills. And then monthly, I would receive a receipt showing what my money went for. If we get to the point where we're going to be out of money, that they can't spend anymore. They can't spend money that we have not budgeted. If there is money left over, then it stays in the firefighting fund. We're not going to go out and try to spend money just to get rid of it.
I'm not concerned about how much is in the budget.
I got it.
I'm just trying to make sure
Restroom here.
my mother's house is going to be covered. You know, everybody outside of town.
Genius now.
Yeah.
Like
About
Bobby
ready to
said here,
adjourn, ain't we?
Legally,
2 hours.
if the calls come in, you gotta go cover the fire. Right, no, ifs, ands, or buts about it. But we're making, you know, so, yes, I live in town, so fortunately, I'm covered. But my mom's outside of town, she's on a fixed budget, which a lot of people outside of town are. So if, Lord forbid, this doesn't go through, and the town or whatever decides to not sign this contract, it's gonna be because of the billing.
Simple as that. The way the billing is getting billed is very simple. You're exactly right.
Everybody's had a chance to talk. We've been here 2 hours, and I make the motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all for coming.
So,
Thank you all for coming, and please come back.
Do you have a date for the adoption meeting or? Okay.